The Gulf War. Operation Desert Storm and the liberation of Kuwait. The year was 1991. The world was once one area as tensions rose between two Middle Eastern countries. One country had invaded its neighbor and was once threatening the steadiness of the whole region. The different country, with the backing of a global coalition, stood geared up to shield itself and its allies. This used to be the Gulf War, additionally recognized as Operation Desert Storm. In this video, we will take a look at the conflict that shaped the modern Middle East, from the preliminary invasion of Kuwait to the liberation of its people. We'll discover the techniques used with the aid of each side, and we will hear from the guys and girls who served on the front lines. So buckle up, due to the fact this is the story of the Gulf War, Operation Desert Storm and the liberation of Kuwait. Iraq had long claimed that Kuwait was once a phase of their country, with a dispute going return to the time of the Ottoman Empire. However, the invasion of Kuwait in August of 1990 used to be a shock pass that was once condemned by way of the worldwide community. The United Nations rapidly acceded a decision calling for Iraq to withdraw from Kuwait, and a coalition of international locations started to mobilize in response. The coalition used to be made up of 35 countries, consisting of the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and Saudi Arabia. Their aim used to be to pressure Iraq to withdraw from Kuwait and restore the country's sovereignty. However, Iraq was once a well-armed and well-trained military force, and the coalition knew that the hostilities would now not be easy. Despite diplomatic efforts to get to the bottom of the struggle peacefully, the coalition's military build-up continued. Troops and gear had been deployed to the region, with the United States main the way with a large military presence. The scenario used to be tense, with the world staring at and ready to see if hostilities ought to be averted or if it was once inevitable. As the military build-up continued, diplomatic efforts to unravel the hostilities peacefully additionally continued. The United Nations handed a sequence of resolutions calling for Iraq to withdraw from Kuwait. However, these resolutions have been not noted by using Saddam Hussein, the Iraqi dictator. Meanwhile, the coalition endured putting together for war. They constructed their military presence in the region, with troops, tanks, and planes being deployed. The United States by myself dispatched over 500,000 troops to the region, with greater arriving each day. As the closing date for Iraq to withdraw from Kuwait approached, it grew to be clear that a peaceful decision to the fighting was once unlikely. On January 12, 1991, the United States Congress licensed the use of army pressure toward Iraq, and 5 days later, Operation Desert Storm started with a large aerial bombardment of Iraqi targets. The Gulf War started on January 17, 1991, with a large aerial bombardment of Iraqi targets. The coalition launched lots of airstrikes over the subsequent number of weeks, concentrated on military installations, verbal exchange centers, and key infrastructure. The intention of the air marketing campaign used to be to weaken Iraq's military skills and soften its defenses earlier than launching a ground offensive. The airstrikes had been carried out by way of a vast range of aircraft, such as B-52 bombers, F-117 stealth fighters, and Apache assault helicopters. The air marketing campaign was once profitable in attaining its objectives. However, it got here at a heavy cost. Iraqi civilians have been additionally killed in the strikes, and there had been worries about the long-term environmental outcomes of the bombing. Still, the coalition persisted with its graft to launch a floor offensively. After a month of bombing, the coalition launched a floor offensive on February 24, 1991. The Iraqi army, ill-prepared and demoralized, used to be shortly defeated. The floor offensive used to be led by way of General Norman Schwarzkopf, the commander of coalition forces in the region. Schwarzkopf had developed a sketch that concerned a flanking maneuver, with troops transferring throughout the Kuwaiti border into Iraq and attacking Iraqi positions from the rear. The diagram was once successful, and the Iraqi military was once shortly overwhelmed. Within days, coalition forces had pushed deep into Iraq, shooting key cities and military installations. By the quiet of the floor offensive, the coalition had done its targets and Iraq had been pressured to withdraw from Kuwait. As Iraqi forces retreated, they had been subjected to devastating assaults from coalition forces. One of the most notorious incidents was once the so-called Highway of Death, the place fleeing Iraqi troopers and civilians who had been mercilessly attacked by way of coalition forces. The motorway was once an essential breakout route for the withdrawing Iraqi army, and it used to be lined with disabled motors and bodies. The assault used to be controversial, with many questioning the want for such a moderate pressure toward a defeated enemy. The coalition argued that the assault was once vital to forestall the Iraqis from regrouping and launching similar attacks. Still, the incident left a lasting stain on the popularity of the coalition forces. The Gulf War formally ended on February 28, 1991, with a ceasefire between Iraq and the coalition forces. However, the hostilities left a lasting impact on the location and the world. The hostilities had a devastating impact on Iraq's financial system and infrastructure, with estimates inserting the value of reconstruction at over $200 billion. The country used to be additionally left with a legacy of environmental damage, which include oil spills and depleted uranium contamination. The warfare additionally had political repercussions, with many questioning the position of the United States in the conflict. Some argued that the warfare used to be influenced by oil and geopolitical interests, instead of a wish to liberate Kuwait. Others were puzzled about the morality of the war, mainly in the mild of the civilian casualties and environmental damage. The Gulf War had a huge effect on global family members and army strategy. It marked the commencing of a new generation of conflict, with the United States setting up itself as the dominant military power in the world. The warfare additionally established the significance of a robust coalition and the want for worldwide assistance in resolving conflicts. It confirmed that army pressure should be superb in reaching strategic objectives, however, additionally highlighted the risks and penalties of war. The Gulf War additionally had a lasting influence on the humans of the region, with many experiencing trauma and displacement as a result of the conflict. It stays a complicated and controversial match in the records of the Middle East, with ongoing debates about its causes, consequences, and legacy. The Gulf War used to be a defining second in world history, with far-reaching penalties for the Middle East and beyond. It used to be a warfare that showcased the power of military pressure, however additionally highlighted the significance of diplomacy and global cooperation. As we mirror this event, we are reminded of the fee of warfare and the want for peaceable options to global conflicts. We hope you found this overview informative and engaging. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to our channel for more content on significant historical events, figures, and cultures. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll help support our mission to promote the importance of history and its impact on our world today. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.